Drink it in, man.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread! Cornbread! Cornbread!
Drink it in, man.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's going on, Detroit Koolaid drinkers? It is a Wednesday right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. You know I'm your host, Derek Oakrey, and I'm coming to you this week with a special guest. He's a returning guest. He's a friend of the show, and normally, I like playing the sound bits, having a bunch of fun on the show, but today's show might just be straight up football talk because I got Logan Lamorandier from Sports Illustrated All Lions. I mean, the guy's an insider. He's got strong takes, great opinions, and great insights on the Lions. So, Logan, great to have you back. I'm just ready to talk ball today. How about you?
Oh, yeah. It's almost here. It's getting through the summer months, and I always say I don't want to wish summer away. But as I know, summer goes along, we get closer and closer to football, and man, it's just a different time of year once football starts.
Exactly, man. And it just kind of sneaks up on us. I mean, literally the Lions will be in camp next week. And before you know it, there will actually be preseason this year, which would be incredible. 3 preseason games. And then I never look forward to the preseason, but I think I actually do because I just craving some football. College football's right around the corner and the Detroit Lions. So we're going to serve up that Detroit Kool-Aid today. And like I said, we're just going to dive right into it. But Logan, I want to make this whole episode about the defense. I feel like last time you came on, we are talking about positions. The show before this one, I did a whole rundown about what I think the offense might look like, who they might feature, what the schemes might be like, the coaches. So how about we just do that on the defensive side of the ball, work our way through it. I got some questions for you, and we'll just go all defense because that's a huge topic with this team, and I'm really interested to what you think about it.
Oh, yeah, there's plenty to talk about with the defense, just with the new scheme, new players, no more Matt Patricia defense. Should be a lot better. But, yeah, I'm looking forward because it's relatively unknown at this point of just what the defense can be in this new scheme and different players. So, yeah, I'm excited about the defense.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, man. So you kind of hit on it there. I mean, it is a mystery, but that's why I bring great insiders, experts, just knowledgeable football minds like yourself, and me and you can chop it up. So I want to know what you kind of think about the new scheme. I mean, we haven't seen it yet, but I know you are all over it. And what do you foresee the scheme being in general broad strokes, as well as what excites you about this new scheme that Dan freaking Campbell, and Aaron Glenn and company are all bringing over with this new Lions regime?
Yeah, so supposedly it's a base 3-4 scheme, which is fine, but considering that it's so often in nickel packages now, it's almost your base defense where you have 5 DBs on the field. It changes up things a lot. And yes, the Lions were a hybrid defense under Matt Patricia, and they were still technically probably a 3-4 defense, but it was still they still had like a down defensive end, like a Trey Flowers, and now Trey Flowers is going to be an outside linebacker. Technically, he's still, his main job is going to be rushing the passer, and same thing with Romeo Aquari. He's going to be an outside linebacker. So I think the scheme is probably going to be still, the Lions still have some players that might not be perfect fits in the 3-4 scheme. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the coaches kind of implements a little bit of hybrid and putting players in different spots. So it's not going to always be the exact same thing. But I think I'm just looking forward most for just having an aggressive attacking style scheme that wants gap shooters up front. With the defensive tackle, they prioritize getting to the quarterback and having some athleticism and guys who can win one-on-ones. And with that and just disruptiveness, you also have linebackers who are going to be kept clean and able to run free, instead of like in Matt Patricia's defense, where Patricia wanted his linebackers 260 pounds so they could take on a guard, square up, and just stick the guy and hold their gap. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think hopefully that waterfall effect of having the snowball effect of having a good pass rush is going to help out the DBs as well. So I can't say specifics about scheme, but I just think from everything that's been said, it should be a lot more aggressive. And that was one of my biggest complaints under Patricia. It was always so passive, and they didn't care about the pass rush. So those are my thoughts in general, I guess you can say.
I'm all for that, man. Exciting, aggressive, and different is all things I'm looking forward to. So I threw Aaron Glenn's name out there. I know on my last show when I talked about the offense, I was going in on all the big name kind of former players that are offensive assistant coaches and things like that. I mean, on defense, you do have Aaron Glenn there and Aubrey Pleasant, who's coming over from the Rams. He's got a lot of pub as well. But what's your thought, confidence, and kind of opinions on the coaches on the defensive side of the ball? Both the DC and the assistants there.
Yeah, both those guys, they were in line for promotion. They deserved it. They proved with their positions that they needed just another shot at getting more, I guess, just taking that next step up. And with Aaron Glenn, for me, coaches are always so difficult to predict, more so with going to head coaches, because I think head coaches, you don't have to be necessarily a great play caller to be a great head coach. And sometimes vice versa, where you can have a great play caller doesn't make a head coach. And it's kind of the same thing. Anytime you move up a level as a defensive backs coach, maybe you're just a really good defensive backs coach, but you're not a great defensive coordinator. But at the very least, Aaron Glenn deserved to be a defensive coordinator. And he's a young and up and coming guy who a lot of people speak very highly of. So I'm all for it, and I'm optimistic about it. But again, it's kind of wait and see, because it's so difficult to predict who's going to be a great defensive coordinator when they get a promotion. We don't have any background on him, but everything he's said so far, it's amazing. All these interviews that the coaches have done, they've just said everything that I wanted to hear. Has just been music to my ears. Just be aggressive. They want to play to player strengths, and that's, I think, what makes good coaches, what makes good coordinators, is being able to adapt and adjust to your personnel and put players in spots where they can succeed. You're not pigeonholing them in one position, as like Patricia did a lot of times. But this is our defense. This is what you're going to be asked to do. And if you can't do that, we probably can't use you. So I really hope that he is just flexible. But again, we haven't seen what he can do yet. But yes, I am optimistic about having him.
We like optimism here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. There's no question. And for me, I guess I'm right with you on all that, and everything has sounded great, and they got all this mojo and moxie and are going to change it up. And like you say, he's right in line to be the guy. And I think all of us Lions fans are just hoping this is the time that it does come together, because there's been quite a few where things were lining up on paper or sounded good, and then came ball games. We really had some struggles, and it fell apart, either based on personnel, scheme, whatever. So I'm really hoping that Aaron Glenn and Dan freaking Campbell and everybody can carry this energy into the season and really get us fans excited, as well as put a great product on the field. That's what I'm hoping for. So speaking of on the field, the next thing I want to know from you is, let's talk about these top players on defense in general. I mean, I got the defense up in front of me. If a lot of people, you're always looking for different content. One quick thing that I've used is go to Our Lads, OURLADS. They've got the full depth charts and kind of give you some good insight. Are they perfect? No, but it's kind of a quick, easy resource to go and check the roster. So I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball, Logan. How are some top players on defense looking to you, or who are the Lions going to look to on defense and be like, hey, these small handful of guys are going to have to really ball out for them to play great on D?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys. There's a lot of unknowns or just question marks on the defense side of the ball. And unfortunately, the Lions do lack that elite top tier talent on defense. Trey Flowers is a nice player, very well rounded, but he can get pressures on the quarterback, but isn't necessarily a sack artist. And he's probably not a guy who really strikes fear into a lot of tackles where it's like, I got to watch out for this guy rushing the passer, just due to, his speed. And, but he gets to the quarterback in different ways. And last year, we didn't get to see a ton of him just due to injuries. It'll be really interesting to see how he fits as an outside linebacker and if he stands up a lot more, what he can do. And, the best part of his game was really using the long arm, and converting to power and getting up in these tackle spaces and getting back into the quarterback. And I think the Lions defense, it's as an outside linebacker, and their number one job is not necessarily going to be gap control, but it's going to be get to the quarterback. It'll be interesting to see what he can do when he can really put his ears back and just get after it. And same with Aquara. Aquara had a great season last year. Again, it's a little concerning. I still think he is somewhat of a question mark just because he's a bit of a one-year wonder at this point. And yeah, even though he had a great year last year, he had a down year the year before that. So which player is going to kind of show up? Is it somewhere in between? But the Lions really need to have those guys do something. And who knows? Having Ali McNeil and Levi Onwuzurike, Michael Brockers, guys who can get to the quarterback from the interior, that may help out these outside linebackers rushing the quarterback a lot as well, which improves everywhere. So, but outside of that, you look at the linebackers, Jamie Collins. I know you're not a big fan of him. I don't think he's some elite player, or he's probably a bigger name than he is a talent at this point. But the real thing is just on the back of the secondary, because the Lions do have a lot of talent there, but they struggled last year. But so does there wasn't any corner who excelled under Matt Patricia in Detroit. So maybe just a new scheme will help them out a lot, and especially for Jeff Okudah, second year, maybe he can take a leap. Amani Oruwariye has showed some promise, but again, needs to take another step. And guys like Quentin Dunbar even had a down year last year, but a great 2020 or 2019. So you just don't know. That's the craziest part about this whole defense, is that there's all these players that have potential that were just never reached under Patricia. And if some of them can really take the next step or just thrive in this new system, I think the defense has potential. But again, it's all about potential. You need a lot of things to go right for this defense to be good, I feel like.
Yeah, I like a lot of the names you brought up there. I kind of think the Lions D, when you look at it, there are some names that jump out to you as like, hey, these are the main guys. But I think one thing I'm looking for is for some of these second, third, even fourth-year players to really find themselves, play a little bit more aggressive, as you said, be more consistent, and make more plays. That's what it comes down to. So when I'm looking at names, It is Trey Flowers, Brockers, Okudah on the outside. But then you're stretching for who that next guy is. You got your rookies, which you mentioned a few of them. You've also got the Tracy Walkers of the world, the the Dunbars, as you mentioned, and the linebackers, which are a big question mark. So I'm kind of like circling a couple of those big names, but just hoping that some of those guys that are in my second, third tier, and that most media and big name places are like, that's why they're saying, we're going to be so bad, because they're not banking on any of those guys. I mean, who knows? Julian Okwara could take a huge leap forward and be a very impactful rush player, but we don't know. And it's a little bit of a leap of faith to see that he's going to be that. So that's what I would say. Some of the names you brought up are more than valid, but we got to get a couple of these second-tier guys to really show up, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about it, because that's for the Lions. The Lions have some decent, solid, really nice players, but if that's going to be your top end talent on your roster, you definitely need those ancillary players to really step up, and some guys maybe you're not really counting on, maybe like Deshaun Hand, you mentioned them already, Julian Okwara, guys like that who, expectations aren't super high, but they have some promise and they step up and show out, and they can really turn things around on defense if Sean Hand can find like his rookie year form, or Aquara can live up to his third round billing. So it's tough looking at the depth chart and just seeing guys that, we're all familiar with them. But if you were to zoom out on a national level, I think a lot of casual fans would be like, who are these guys? They're just not household names.
Exactly. One name I'm staring at, which I just want to promote this right here. So again, this week I'm very fortunate. Logan made enough time where I'm gonna be able to have him on the Friday show as well. We're gonna take a little bit of a different dive into the roster and look at it overall. Maybe group some rookies and free agent signings and different groups together and talk about them, so we can get into players more there. But maybe one guy I'll bring up when you come back on the Friday show is Alex Anzalone, or Anzalone, however you want to pronounce it with this guy. But he's coming over from the Saints, and to me, he's either going to be boom or bust. He's going to be like a really nice linebacker piece, or could be a guy that we've seen plenty of times here in Detroit. He comes on a second or third contract, whatever it is, and he's a little bit farther down the road, and it just doesn't work out. He's just a middle, bottom, below average type of player. But I have some hopes that he can be better than some of the slow plodding linebackers that we've had, as well as, like you said, attack and just do some things. So, I mean, even a guy like that is, like you said, a unknown, not on the top of anybody's list, but I got him highlighted kind of as like, I want to see what he's got. I want to see him out on the football field. So we can talk more about that on the Friday show. And because I get Logan on a double dip here, I mean, we got to keep this thing moving, man. I think we'll keep this one a little bit tighter as we talk about the D. I think we even need to get sponsors in already, Logan. What do you think about that?
Already? Usually it's like at least 40 minutes before we do that.
I agree, but I mean, we got lots more to talk about, and I know you're coming Friday. We're going to talk about the roster, so I mean, we'll get it all in. There's no question, but one thing we got to get in is realitysportsonline.com, the greatest fantasy platform that you want to do. I mean, I'll just do a live ad right here. I mean, if you love fantasy football, but you've been doing Yahoo, 8-team leagues, you're in, like Logan, you're in one fantasy league because he can't have enough time to do two. I mean, you got to go over to realitysportsonline.com where you're doing contracts. You get to do a free agent auction, which is really fun and very simple, by the way. You get to do rookie drafts. I mean, who doesn't love a rookie draft? I mean, we all think we know best when it comes to the NFL draft. Me, Logan, everybody else listening to this pod. You get to do that. I mean, lots more customization, lots more fun for diehard football fans. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't take any more time than your standard league, but it's a ton more fun and a lot more competitive. So, Logan, I know I've been touting these to you. I know you can't take much more fantasy football than you're already doing in your one home league or whatever you do, but Reality Sports Online is the place to go, man.
Hey, I have 2 leagues, okay?
All right. Have you doubled, or have you always done 2? Because I always give you crap about it, but have you always done the 2, or did you double up since last time I talked to you?
No, I mean, just a few years ago, I was probably in like 10 of them.
All right, so
I've been dwindling down. I'm like, all right, I gotta start getting out of leagues, and some of them kind of goes apart. So it's been okay, but it's been really enjoyable being in a couple leagues. But I will say, to promote the sponsor, I'm in a Reality Online Sports, or I just messed that up. Sorry.
That's all right. Reality Sports Online, RSO.
RSO, yeah. That's what I always type into my Google and it pops right up. So RSO, yes, I'm in a league there, and it's pretty awesome. You feel like you're a general manager.
Exactly. It's about as close as you can get. And I mean, we all know Logan is scared to get in a league against me because he knows here on the pod, I mean, I pump him up. I let him give all his knowledge. But we know if we went head to head, I mean, we both know what would happen, right, Logan?
Yeah, that's the main reason why I can't join.
I'll keep telling myself that anyway. But yeah, everybody go over there. Check out realitysportsonline.com. No doubt about it. They're doing big things. I'm in multiple leagues, and that's the most fun platform that I use. No question about it. So everybody head over to realitysportsonline.com right now. All right, Logan, we're back from the break. Live read. I mean, we're talking defense today. And we spent the front part of the show talking like broad strokes and scheme and general stuff about coaches and got into a few players there. But let's get into the mix right now. I mean, who's going to start? And here's the caveat, and be impactful at the linebacker position this year for the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, impactful? So I would say Alex Anzalone just because he has familiarity with the scheme. But if you look at the first 4 years of his career, it's nothing has ever been special. He's a fine linebacker, but he's not anything elite at the same time. But hey, at least he has some athleticism. At least he's pretty big. He doesn't have any glaring flaws. So, I mean, Jamie Collins, I think probably is the best linebacker on the team at this point. But again, you saw what happened in Cleveland when he was away from Patricia's scheme. Even last year, he wasn't great. He had some really good games, really bad games in Patricia's scheme. But he does have some decent wheels on him still, even at his age right now. So I think he could be an interesting run and chase linebacker. And I want to know too, Jamie Collins is a big linebacker too. Has he lost any weight like Tavai has? Maybe Collins has gotten a little faster even. I don't know. I think Jamie Collins, he's good in pass coverage. He's good against the run for the most part. He can stack and shed blocks. But again, I don't know if his strengths will be utilized the best in this scheme or not. So I know what Alex Anzalone is in this scheme, but Jamie Collins is a little bit different. But I want to say Jamie Collins is going to be the most impactful linebacker.
Let me ask you this, as used to be said here on the show, just a quick follow-up, a piggyback, if I may. Are you bringing up Jamie Collins multiple times on the show just to get me upset today? Is that what you're doing? I mean, you continue to bring him in the conversation. The guy's wearing the number 8. When have you seen a middle linebacker wear Ocho and be good? It hasn't happened. And yes, I know there were other number rules, but it's still not going to happen because Jamie Collins is not good at football. He doesn't care enough. He's old. Yes, he used to be athletic. Now he's just lazy and makes a few plays, but he makes way too many bad plays for me. I saw that very early with the Lions, that this guy's inconsistent and I just can't have him on my roster anymore. I'm going to put up with him this year, but I'm not banking on him whatsoever. Anzalone, who you brought up, is interesting because he was a pretty nasty linebacker at Florida, right? That's where he went to college.
Yeah, struggled with injuries, but he was pretty good when on the field.
Yeah, he had some pub coming out in that draft, I remember, and he somewhat was with scheme. So I like that as a sneaky pick for you. And I guess I'm just really curious to see the rookie. I'm always all about the rookies, and Derek Barnes just intrigues me to no end about what he can do and what he can become. But he's kind of been tempered recently too. I've seen him, noted as backup and, maybe a limited role, this, that, and the other. I really want to see what he can do and how quickly he comes along, because I like to see him on the football field sooner than later.
Yeah, Derek Barnes. I like Derek Barnes as a prospect a lot just because he's fast, physical. The passing game is what you don't really know about him right now. He, as a former edge player, a hybrid player, and solely as a middle linebacker last year, he had definitely some struggles in coverage, and you need to be able to cover in the NFL. Now he has the athleticism you'd think to do it, but sometimes athleticism doesn't translate into being able to cover. But he's just a heat-seeking missile once he knows where the ball's at, and he'll definitely hit some people. So I'm looking forward to Derek Barnes, even if he doesn't start at the beginning of the year, some preseason action of him, and that'll be good. But Jamie Collins, I was trying to think of a linebacker who wears number 8, and obviously it hasn't happened in the NFL. But I think was it Patrick Queen? LSU was wearing number 8 at the college level.
Don't try to sneak more Jamie Collins talk in. I mean, come on, we got to keep this thing moving. I mean, we'll see when the season happens. It'll probably be week 3 where you're just like, man, you were right. This guy is just way too many issues for me. But there's not a ton better. I mean, here's how it's going to go down with Jelani Tavai. He's either going to be way slimmer, fast, and know what he's doing, and everyone's going to be very pleasantly surprised, or it's going to be the same old Jelani Tavai where he can't find the football, he can't make plays, and it's going to be known pretty quickly. So obviously the Detroit Koolaid drinkers, we loved Jelani Tavai wearing number 51 to show up finally as a high second-round pick and just be a contributor, just be decent when you're out on the football field. And if you really look at it, he didn't even get a lot of chances. Like, he seemed like he was on and off the field a lot. I would be fine to sort of let him out there if he's holding his own and just let him play football, see what he's got, We didn't bring up this guy, but Sean Dion Hamilton, I've heard him getting some pub. He's wearing number 50. People are like, hey, this guy might be a nice little piece that nobody's talking about that can really play. So I wouldn't mind if a guy like that pushed Jelani Tavai to the bench, or our lads even has Jalen Reeves-Maben kind of as an outside linebacker in the number 1 slot, which to me is concerning, I would say, based on what I've seen from Reeves-Maben at this point. But like I said, I don't want to make this a huge linebacker segment, but this is like what we talked about before, where you look around and like none of these names excite me, but I think the unit overall can be better just based on the scheme, the coaching, and maybe a couple of these guys starting to play ball better just based on those factors.
Yeah, no, I mean, you just don't know in the new scheme how it's going to work. Because Jalen Reeves-Maven, who showed promise when in his younger years, was really handcuffed in Patricia's scheme just because he wasn't big enough. He wasn't big enough to take on linemen just head up, and maybe in more of a run and chase type of scheme, which just seems like it'll emphasize his strengths, which again is what it's all about. Well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Jelani Tavai, who is back to his pro day weight where he still wasn't very athletic, but maybe he can be now athletic enough and not look like a defensive tackle playing middle linebacker. And because I do feel like he does, at least at the college level, you saw some decent instincts, but the whole Tavai pick, not to rehash all that, but it was ever since the start, it's like, why? Why is this
you know
guy
what
a second round
happens?
pick?
You know what happens though?
Even in the best scheme for him, it still didn't work.
Well, to me, what happens a lot, and I'm like, just number one for doing this is I serve up that Detroit Koolaid 2 to 3 times a week on all my different pods. I'm always trying to be optimistic about my team. I want a lot of these guys to come along, but I have grown to know that like the off season, like everybody's in the best shape of their life. Everybody's turned the corner, and then the truth is a lot of these guys do come back to what they are. Like, I would not be surprised if Jelani Tavai doesn't play great and he's not only on the roster bubble, but you could definitely see him off this team too. So, I mean, that's the thing people got to be careful of. We all can root on our team and be optimistic, but there are times where this off-season hype for every player, every position, all the time is just kind of like, all right, show me in camp and let me see you make plays and be better in preseason or whatever, and then I'll believe it. But until then, you're the same Tavai or the same Jamie Collins or whoever that I've seen until you prove me otherwise. So I know people love me serving up the Kool-Aid, but that's the honest truth. So hopefully these guys can prove us all wrong and make plays. So let's move past the linebackers, Logan, before you start talking about Ocho again. This is my big question for this defense, and this is my guy. Can Tracy Walker bounce back? I mean, this guy said in multiple interviews that he feels like himself again. The locker room loves him. He's a leader. He wants to just do whatever he can for this team. He always comes out and almost says how horrible the other regime is without saying it, unless he's on his IG or somewhere where he has been known to take a shot at people. Or I think he had something recently that came out that somebody was dogging on the Lions and he said, keep sleeping on us, because he's a guy too who always say, watch, we're going to show you, or this is going to be the best year, I'm ready to go. But I want to see it from number 21. So where are you at with Tracy Walker?
I still like Tracy Walker. I still think that we've seen him being very instinctive and a ball hawk when he's playing deep and kind of being put in zones. I think he reads the quarterback well, and that just last year they were asking him to do a lot of in the box play and a lot of tight end coverage. And I don't know if he can cover tight ends, but I don't think it's a strength. I think he's more of a free safety type of player, and the Lions are playing split deep looks. I think that's only going to be beneficial for him. And it was very disappointing. I think Tracy Walker, looking at expectations of what I had for players last year, he might have been the most disappointing because he was actually pretty bad last year. And I remember being very upset when he wasn't even listed as a starter and Will Harris was out snapping him. And you still can't really justify that, but it's not like Tracy Walker, even when he did overtake Will Harris at the starting safety spot, he was all that much better. And I was just very surprised by that. And that might've been just what they were asking him to do. But we've seen from Tracy Walker, again, everything I mentioned about it, he just seems, I think safety is one of the positions where, instincts matter. Because you don't have to be the best athlete. Obviously, it helps. But if you have good instincts, look at a guy like Glover Quinn, just great instincts, always around the ball and a ball hawk, you can do well. And I think we've seen flashes of that with Tracy Walker, where he knows where to be and how to set up quarterbacks into throwing the ball, high pointing the ball. He's got the super long arms. I think there's a lot to like about him. And I don't think he'll be what he was last year. He needs to have a bounce back year. It's a contract year for him too. So
Yeah.
I think he's one of those players we talked about in that bucket of, maybe not super high expectations, but if they can perform at a high level, it could really help this defense out a lot.
So here's my quick take. We went on a tangent and you got me all frustrated talking about Jamie Collins. But when we're talking about Tracy Walker, here's my thing. You mentioned the instincts. I agree with you. He obviously even played some corner in college, so he should be able to cover. He hasn't covered well in the NFL, so this is a straight up to number 21, Tracy Walker. We got to have your man-to-man coverage skills take a leap forward because they've been just unacceptable, to be honest, the last year and a half or so. My other thing is the guy's got the crazy length. I haven't seen him use it very well at the NFL level. He racked up some tackles, but they were all like 10 yards plus down the field. I need him to get his hands on some footballs. And then the other thing with Tracy is I think he was right on the cusp of being run out of town by the other regime because I think the snap thing that you mentioned was because they didn't like his attitude or they didn't like that he wanted to do X, Y, and Z. They wanted him to do what they wanted him to do. And we saw them run other players like that out of town. So I think they took his snaps away. They finally cut him loose towards the end of the year. He played a little bit better. But I just think he's really going to be free from a mental perspective as well as his personality. And when he was going good as early in his career, he had that swagger. He had that ability to make plays and then let you know about it. And I think that's the player he really is at heart. So if he can find that nice middle ground of swagger as well as knowing his assignments and finding ways to get turnovers. I need turnovers, not like nonsense tackles. I need picks, deflections, like you say, play in the middle of the football field. That's what he says he wants to do. He don't want to be down there playing edge or playing, you said he did good at guarding tight ends. I don't think he did. I think he was always getting roasted, toasted, and extra crispy. So don't let him do that, or hopefully he got a lot better because he really let me down in those areas. So this is my half rant, half motivational speech to my guy, Tracy Walker. You can find him on Instagram, or he's got to be good as a third-round pick. So, again, this is the Logan show. I was supposed to throw questions at you, but I got on a linebacker / Collins rant, and now I'm trying to pump my guy Tracy Walker up. But I want him to be good too, but I'm getting to the end of my rope of, you need to make plays. My buddy Chops came on. He comes on about once a month here on the show too, and I threw a question at him about Tracy Walker, and he said he's done with Tracy Walker. He said, I got no time for this guy anymore. He was just off, and this was a guy that he had hopes for as well, but he's seen enough and doesn't think he's going to turn it around. So we'll see. I really hope he does, but he's got a lot of stuff to prove to people, and like you say, time is running out of the hourglass. There's no question. So Logan, you can come back on that if you want, but we got lots more to talk about here on the defense, and like you said, we've been known to make a marathon show. So do you want to come back on Tracy at all, or we want to move to my next one I got for you?
No, and yeah, I agree 100% that Tracy is starting to get to that point where it's make or break time. It's just frustrating because you've seen the potential, but it wasn't there last year, and that's what you have to hope this year that he can turn it around. Otherwise, it's going to be a wasted third-round pick if he walks in free agency. But the Lions don't have any options at safety either. Out of all their safeties, he's the guy who needs to step up in that safety room.
Yeah, he looks the part in the uniform, needs to make more plays. Jeff Risdon, I think, put out a projected starters on defense article just before we got recording on USA Today Lions Wire. And very surprising when you see that safety position. It's like Tracy, Marlowe, and nobody else. So there's not only no depth, but you're really pinning your hopes on a veteran that's bounced around a little bit, and Tracy Walker take a big leap. So I wouldn't be surprised if they add to that position, and definitely go check out Jeff's article, as well as, I hate to promote, but I might as well. I put out a fantasy football article. They were talking about Lions ADP recently on USA Today Lions Wire. So check that out. And you really need to check out, because I didn't give him a chance to promo, you got to go check out what Logan Lamorandier is doing at USA, or he's at Sports Illustrated, all Lions, writing articles, doing media pieces, doing radio interviews. I mean, you gotta go check out what you're up to, Logan. I know you got some good stuff out there.
Oh yeah, well, it's been a little lighter this time of year. I'm more of a numbers and stats guy, and I like, just data in front of me. And, there's only so much I can do at this point in the season outside of just projections, which is still a lot of fun. Basically what we're doing now, talking about projections, where we see guys, expectations, but at the same time, it all comes down to what they're doing on the field. And that's where I feel like I thrive. It's, breaking down the on-field stuff, stats and things of that nature. So I'm just looking forward to the season to get started, so I have some new material. I don't have anything left in me.
Exactly. No, you'll be putting out great stuff. You can also find him at Lamorandier on Twitter. He's always putting out great stuff. You can give me a follow at Derek Oakrey on Twitter as well. And Logan, let's go a little rapid fire on these next questions. We're talking about the pass rush. You think the Lions are going to get pass rush this year, and how?
I think they will. I don't think it's going to be elite because both Trey Flowers and Romeo Aquara, even though Aquara, like I said earlier, he had a great season. I don't think either is necessarily an elite pass rusher, but they're both good. If you have interior pass rushers like Aleem McNeil from a nose tackle, he's super explosive. Levi Onwuzurike, also kind of the same deal, where he's just disruptive. And if you have guys in the interior that can beat one-on-one blocks, and we have not had that in a long time, it makes life so much easier on the edge defenders to get sacks. So I do think I'm cautiously optimistic about a pass rush, because I think in obvious passing situations, the Lions have quite a few players that should be able to get to the quarterback, and that's only going to help out the secondary. And overall, I just think the players the Lions have, again, no elite names, but they do have players that can get to the quarterback. So I do think there will be a pass rush, but it's in my eyes, it's probably going to be like a middle of the road type of pass rush.
Logan, this is what you could have said. It can't be any worse because it's been horrible.
True.
So I think they will be better and fun to watch, and I sure hope so. How about the cornerbacks? Do you think this set of cornerbacks is not just marginally better, but quite a bit better than what we've had the past, decade or so with the Lions?
It was so bad last year. It was really bad. And outside of Quentin Dunbar, who was also not great last year, who the Lions brought in, Melifonwu is another guy, again, an unknown rookie 3rd-round pick. Where is he going to be at? You look at the names, and it's like, oh, wow, the Lions have some real talent. But again, it all comes down to the field and their play on the field. And so I feel like Jeff Okudah, much like you said with the pass rush, Okudah can't get much worse. And that, I think there's a lot of factors that kind of point Okudah definitely in the right direction, where he's going to have, at least step it up and be a lot better this year. As it's pretty typical with corners, it can take a sec to kind of get comfortable in the league, and especially when you're dealing with an injury and in a defensive scheme that's very predictable and no pass rush. Like, Okudah was probably set up in the worst spot you could possibly be in last year. So I think by default he'll be a lot better. But yeah, you just look at the cornerbacks, it's just really weird, because it's like, yeah, I like the talent there. It looks like there's some really nice pieces to work around, but they just have to, when the lights turn on Sunday, they have to show up.
Yeah, real quick, in my opinion, I think AO is the linchpin. I know everybody out there that listens to the Koolaid Cast wants to make the soundbite, but I'm not going to do it today. But I think he was taken in the 5th round. He's a talented player. If he can play well, and then Okudah, I think, is pretty much obviously going to take a step up. And then we also invested that 3rd round top 100 pick in Iffy there. So, the Lions had always tried to get these late round flyers or these little corners that never always were injured and whatnot. So I think they've invested some resources, and I think, again, they can't be any worse covering people. So I'm excited to see what they can do, and got to be a lot more sticky and create some turnovers, no doubt about it. Logan, is this team going to be better in stopping the run or the pass, do you think, this season?
Oh, I will say stopping the pass. I'm so conflicted, as you can tell, trying to think about it. But I do have some faith with the secondary can turn it around if there's a pass rush. And we already discussed it. I think there can be a pass rush in obvious passing situations, but to get into obvious passing situations, you have to be able to stop the run. And that's why Patricia always preached you have to stop the run to get into obvious passing situations, but they really couldn't do either. But when you look at like their run defenders, I guess Trey Flowers and Aquara as outside linebackers, those are some great run defenders at outside linebackers. And the Lions have some good young defensive tackle talent along with Brockers. But again, my concern would probably going back to the linebackers against the run. How is that all going to play out with Jamie Collins, your favorite, and Alexander Maloney?
Don't sneak him in again. don't mix him in here when we're talking about this. Come on.
So I know it's a passing league and the Lions will be facing a lot of good quarterbacks, but I don't know. It's a toss up for me, but if I had to make a bet, I would say their passing defense will be better overall if you look at total yardage, in the league ranks compared to the run game.
Logan, let me help you out here as a podcast expert at this point, a guy that likes to have a take, comes strong. This is how you could answer this. Aaron Glenn, Aubrey Pleasant, they're going to be better in the pass game because of those two coaches, where they've invested in those corners. And we've got to stop the pass because it's a passing league. So the Lions are going to focus on that, and they're going to get that done in 2021. There you go. What do you think about that answer?
There you go. Solid.
All right. You always bring the solid knowledge and work your way through every position. I just going to come strong with you and keep it tight there. Let me get a few more in here. So do you think this defense can help the offense in 2021 where they're getting turnovers, they're getting off the field, they're keeping teams out of the red zone, whatever? Or is this going to be, again, where like the offense is having to either outscore people or like every time it goes back to the D, it's going to be like, I don't know if this is going to go well. Do you think they can be like a benefit and a help to the O this year?
I think I'd probably flip it. I almost feel like the offense would be more beneficial for the defense just because you're looking at the strength of the Lions offense and it's their offensive line and probably rushing the ball. They can help keep the defense off the field. And, the defense I think obviously could help the offense, but I would say the offense has more potential to be able to help the defense more than the defense can help the offense, I think, because you look at the offense, if the Lions have to go into, passing mode, I don't know how that's going to work all too well if the defense is having struggles. So you would hope that the defense can help out, and I'm sure there will be times that they will, but overall, I don't think this defense is going to be that spectacular where it's going to keep all the teams in low scoring games and the Lions can stay balanced on offense the entire time. So there's my typical answer for you. Playing both sides.
Half and half all day. Here's the thing. Like, I think the O is going to be better. My point is that this D needs to get to a point where, like, it can be counted on a little bit more. Like, if we give up the football, we know that they're not going to just give up 7. They're going to be stickier in coverage, as I mentioned earlier. They're going to be able to get after the quarterback more. So I'm not saying they're going to be the better unit. What I'm saying is that they just need to get to that level where us as fans and the team in general are just going to be like, hey, man, our defense go out there, like you said. We've got some big athletic bodies up front. We've got the corners that I mentioned, and we don't have much at the back end at safety, but we're just really hoping that they add a piece. Maybe they get a lot out of Tracy Walker. So I just need them to be where, like, sometimes they're going to get a 3 and out. Sometimes they're going to get a turnover. And, sometimes they're going to get walked down the field and give up points. But I just need a better mix. So I'm hopeful that they can be kind of a positive or a benefit to the offense more so than like a hindrance as they have been the last couple of years where like there was really no way to keep up based on how they were getting worked up and down the field. So let's go with this one. Like, where do you think they'll rank when it's all said and done? I mean, we know they've been towards the bottom. Where do you think this defense comes out?
So straight total defense, I still think they'll probably be, bottom 12. Just a lot of that has to probably do with the offense as well, where if the offense can run the ball, that changes everything. but the offense needs to stay on the field for this defense, I think, to kind of inflate that ranking a little bit, where the defense maybe just doesn't see as many snaps as what they're used to. But again, it just, looking at like turnovers, I don't see a lot of true like playmakers that are going to get a lot of turnovers, and maybe a more aggressive scheme will bring that out. Who knows? That'd be great. But I'm still thinking that the Lions, really on both sides of the ball, probably will be bottom 12 in total offense and defense.
It's safe take. It's a Logan quality take of safe, makes sense, knowledgeable. What the people want here on the show is a Kool-Aid take from me, and that's simply this. If the Lions add like a linebacker, a veteran that's really got some juice, or maybe is a much better football player than Ocho, who you've brought up multiple times on the show, if they're able to add maybe a dynamic safety that's been in the league for a little bit but can come out and make some plays, I really think this D-line is going to be ferocious at times. I think it's going to be, they add a few more pieces both this year and moving forward next year. I really think they could be similar to that D that took us to the playoffs years ago, where it was like, we've got waves of guys coming from up front, we can cover well enough, and the ball just seems to find us based on how I think Pleasant and company are going to be coaching these boys. So I really think they do have some upside to be better than advertised, not only this year, but definitely in the future. And I just can't wait to see it. So Logan, let's end it on this. When it's all said and done, the smoke is cleared, we're talking all about defense on this show. Who or what are we going to be talking about when the season's over and it's all said and done here with the Lions D? Give me like a strong opinion. Give me a player that I'm going to be like, I know we mentioned him on the show, but by the end of the year, you're going to be like, man, this guy's a ball player. Give me something.
Can I take the easy route and just say Jeff Okudah?
Absolutely. Tell me why Mr. Okudah is going to be a ball player.
I really like him, and he's in a good spot now.
Well, I really have high hopes for Mr. Okudah. If I had to say a player, I mean, gosh, I don't know. You're a stats guy. You know, by being on this show, I rarely will dive too deep into the numbers. I kind of know the stats, but I definitely like to just kind of talk broad strokes and give strong opinions, have fun here on the show. Again, we didn't do sound bits. I didn't come after you too much on this show, but if we're talking about who we're going to be talking about at the end of the year, this is really my guy, and I'm really hoping and kind of putting my hat on that he's not going to be that veteran that comes here like we've seen in the past. I really have Michael Brockers circled now that they've paid him. He's come here, the stuff he said in interviews. I think is because he's in this scheme, I don't think he would do as well with the former regime based on how they coached and what they would make him do. But I think we really might be talking about Michael Brockers at the end of the year going, not is he the best leader we have on that side of the football, but a guy that really made a lot more plays, both disruption, may have higher sacks than you would expect, and just be a force on that D-line. I really coming to like that signing and like the person and the football player. Yeah,
no, that's very plausible. Brockers has been a very solid player his entire career, and, former first round pick. He's getting a little long in the tooth, but still the talent's there, and he's going to be expected and relied upon to be a leader and one of the better, probably more consistent interior linemen with the younger group that they have. But my dark horse was Aleem McNeil. I almost wanted to say him, but just being more of a nose tackle, probably being a rotation. I just don't know, his snaps percentages per game is probably not going to be all that great, but I still like McNeil's ceiling just because he can stop the run and he's explosive. You just don't see that with a nose tackle, but he's my dark horse. I wanted to mention him.
I cannot wait to see Aleem McNeil play with that 54 jersey. And my two wild cards, I'll just throw them out here to end the show. Iffy playing both corner, and don't be surprised if they rotate him around to some safety or some slot positions, get him out on the field more as he grows. and we brought him up earlier. Julian Okwara, seems to be bulking up. His brother is signed, sealed, and delivered. Watch for this kid to play a lot more like he did at Notre Dame than what we got to see last year from number 99. So there it is. There's a little Kool-Aid, a little hype to end the show. It was a lot of straight football talk. Logan, we got about here in about 45 plus minutes. I mean, that's pretty good for us. Like, we talked about the D. I think we covered a lot of stuff. How about we get up out of here and we'll get you back on the Friday show and dive even deeper into the roster. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Yeah, I think we set our record for shortest show. And usually first segment's 45 minutes alone.
There definitely are some pods I listen to that are like 2.5, 3.5 hours. Like, I know you're a busy man. I got a lot going on, but I'm pretty dang sure if we sat here and talked Lions football, we could knock out a 2 to 3 hour show if we didn't think about it. Am I right?
Oh, easily. Yeah, that'd be no problem.
So everybody, we're going to get into more talk. I love having Logan on the show. You've got to go check out all the stuff he's putting out at Sports Illustrated, all Lions, and just great stuff. It's just awesome to have him on the show here about once a month where me and him get to talk football. I look forward to these shows. I know the listeners drink it in. They love it. So, Logan, thank you so much, man, for coming back on.
Thank you, of course. Yeah, talk soon.
Absolutely. Everybody, drink that Detroit Kool-Aid. Catch us Friday right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Take care, everybody. We're out.
Pack the bags, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in.